Hey, how's it going? In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can become a millionaire with house hacking. I'm going to analyze and mathematically break down this multi-unit property, so make sure you stick around towards the end of this video. But before I break this property down, I need to explain to you what is house hacking, and I also need you to understand these two critical components when it comes to real estate investing. House hacking is a phenomenon where you buy a house to live in and you rent out other parts of your house to help cover the cost of owning your home. Just with this concept alone, there are virtually hundreds of ways for you to house hack. Now, I'm only going to show you one method of house hacking, but this method is so powerful. Not only will you make money living in your home, you will also become a millionaire within a matter of years. I know most of the people who are going to be watching this video are going to be leaving within the first 30 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and do you a solid and tell you this house hacking method right now. You want to buy a multi-unit house with either an FHA or conventional loan as a primary residence. Then I need you to own the home for as long as possible. That's it. And for those who are still sticking around, thank you. And now let's go ahead and let me elaborate a little bit more on this method. To really understand real estate and how it makes you money, we first need to establish a foundation of knowledge. For this foundation of knowledge, you need to understand two things: cash flow and property appreciation. Inherently, every single property in the whole world is going to have these two components. Cash flow tells you how much real money is being made or lost on the property, and property appreciation tells you on how much theoretical money is being lost or made. When we break down cash flow, we need to take a look at two things: the income and cost of a property on a monthly basis. Normally, when we have a house, that house can be rented out for a certain amount of money due to the quality of the home and also the location of the home. This money we get from renting goes into our income part of the cash flow equation. Then we need to consider the cost component of the house. These values are going to change depending on the property taxes, insurance, and also potential loan payments that you have on the property. Now, if you track all the income and costs of a property on a monthly basis, you should know on how much real hard cash you will have overall. Then when we go ahead and take a look at property appreciation, on average for the past 50 years in the United States, home prices have been increasing around 5.44% every year. Keep in mind, this is on average. If you take a look at this chart, you can see that home prices clearly go up and down depending on the market. But if you were to average out all the ups and downs, this is where we get that 5.44%. You also need to keep in mind that real estate is hyper dependent on the location. Every city and even county are going to have different values for their property appreciation rates. Since we're using data to estimate the future value of the house, that is why I call this theoretical money you make. There's a good chance when you buy a house in the short term, you're going to go ahead and lose money. However, over the long term, you should expect to see your home value increase. To determine how much theoretical money you make, all you need to do is you need to get your property appreciation rate and multiply that by the value of the house. Here, it is super important to keep in mind that this theoretical number is a percentage of the home value. So as your home becomes more valuable, the dollar amount that you make on a yearly basis will increase over time. Now that we have a foundation, I can now tell you of a house hacking method that can turn you into a millionaire. Like I said, all you need to do is you need to buy a multi-unit house with either a conventional or FHA loan as a primary residence. Now, for these loans, you can buy a house anywhere between 1 to 4 units. And normally, when you buy a 1-unit home, you're going to be limited to one long-term lease for the rental income of the property. Now, when you buy a 2 to 4 unit home, you immediately increase your rental income. Now, when we take a look at the property appreciation, remember that we said that property appreciation is a percentage of the home value. Normally, a multi-unit home is going to be more expensive than a single family home if we were to keep the square footage the same. So the key method to becoming a millionaire with house hacking is to buy a multi-unit house so that you can have a high cash flow and also a high property appreciation rates. The only issue here is that buying a multi-unit home is a lot easier said than done. You see, multi-unit properties are super expensive, and who casually has 6 to 7 figures of cash to buy a multi-unit home? What happens when you only have 4 to 5 figures of cash? Make sure you go ahead and subscribe and stick around, because I'm going to tell you exactly how you can buy a multi-unit property for a fraction of the cost. The way you buy a multi-unit property for a fraction of the cost is by using leverage, and this leverage comes in the form of an FHA or conventional loan. Now, with an FHA loan, you can buy up to a 4-unit property for 3.5% down if your credit score is above 580. Now, with a conventional loan, you can buy up to a 4-unit property for 5% down if your credit score is at least 620. The main thing that you need to know is that for you to qualify for this loan, you need to live in this property. That is why I said to buy this multi-unit home as a primary residence. Now, instead of needing to come 100% down for the value of the home, you now need to come in with 3.5 to 5% down for the value of the home. Now, I will disclose you do need to have certain financial characteristics to be approved for a loan. These characteristics consist of having savings, a good credit score, and enough yearly income to qualify for the home. If you are interested in figuring how much home you can afford, please feel free to reach out to me either phone or email. Not only do I make real estate investing videos, it is quite literally my job to help people apply for home loans. And to top it all off, I even invest in real estate properties myself, so I can help you do the same. All you need to do is reach out and ask. Before I go ahead and break down the numbers, we need to know how this compares to our traditional options. Normally, if you wanted to buy an investment property with a loan, most lenders are going to ask you to put around 20 to 25% down for a down payment. However, you can hack the system by living in your home, turning your investment property into a primary residence. And as a feature of FHA and a conventional loan, you can buy a multi-unit property. At this point, I've already told you most of the information that I can. Now it's actually time for me to show you the application and also significance of this information. Okay, so here we have a house that is for sale at $360,000, and right off the bat, just by looking at the pictures, that this is a higher quality home, so I would suspect that this house is a new build. One thing you can do as well when you're using Zillow, you can also scroll down and look at the description here, and here we can see that this house is a duplex. Now, because this house is a duplex, to get the size of each unit is going to be right here, and all we need to do is just divide by 2. So one unit is going to be 3 beds, 2 baths, and 1,035 square feet. The next thing that I'm going to take a look at is when it was built. So here we see that it was built in 2023, so this house is about a year and a half old. The next thing that I want to take a look at is if we scroll further down, we are going to be able to take a look at the financial and listing details. So here is some good information that we can see. Here I see the annual tax amount is $9,600, and on top of that, this house has been on the market for about 3 months because it was in May, and at this current date we are at August 3rd. So the listing terms here shows you which loans are qualifiable for buying this house. So here we can see conventional, FHA, and VA, which is good and means that we can house hack this house, because what did we say previously? We need to buy a multi-unit house that is either conventional or FHA. The final thing that is important to see here is that total actual rent is $3,500. Now it's time to go ahead and look at the numbers when it comes to house hacking this particular home. The first thing I went ahead and did is I went ahead and got the $360,000 value of the house, and I put it into the spreadsheet here. Now, the second thing I did is I went ahead and estimated how much it would cost to live in the house and see what the difference would be in terms of the property taxes. Usually when you end up living in your house, you do get a discount for living in your house, and this is called homestead exemption taxes. Now, normally if this house was kept as an investment property, we would be paying around $800 a month. Now with the homestead exemption tax, we are going to be paying around $642 a month, which is around an extra $160 that gets kept in your pocket. And now in terms of the homeowner's insurance, I just went ahead and estimated it to be around $200. The third thing that we need to consider is when we saw the rental income of $3,500 a month, if we were to house hack this home, we would need to live in one of the units. So half of our income would be lost. So what we put here was $3,500 divided by 2, which ends up being around $1,750. The main difference between doing this house as a house hack and buying this house as an investment property is this. If you were to buy this house as an investment property, first of all, you would be doubling your income in terms of the rental income, which would change your cash flow of the property. Then the main difference here is we would have to pay 25% down for a down payment. So if we were to buy this house as a normal investment property, we would need to pay 25% down, which ends up being $90,000 down for the down payment. So that is near 6 figures of cash out of pocket that you need to buy. However, because when we saw on Zillow that this house was FHA eligible, we only need to put 3.5% down, where the only real sacrifice is going to be the rental income that we need to sacrifice. I already went ahead and estimated the interest rate for an FHA loan around like a 700 FICO score, and the interest rate we are going to be getting is around 5.75%. So along with the interest rate of the house, we also have to take into account the mortgage insurance that we have to pay for the home. So I estimated that to be around $158 a month. So if we were to add the property taxes, hazard insurance, and also the loan payments, that means that just to live in this house, we're going to have to pay around $3,028 a month, which leaves us with a net negative cash flow of around $1,300. Now, if we were to annualize that, we would be spending $15,000 out of our pocket. However, you do need to keep in mind, this is money that we would have needed to spend either way, because if you were to rent out a house to live in a house for 1,000 square feet, I would argue that you would need to pay more than $15,000 a year. Now that we have covered the cash flow for this house, now we have to take into account the property appreciation rate. And as we recall, we said that the average property appreciation rate for the United States was 5.44%. So if we were to take into account the property appreciation rate, after we own the house for 1 year, that house is now going to be worth $379,000. So on a year by year difference, we are going to be making around $19,600. So if we were to compound that over the next 30 years, by year 30, the year over year difference is going to be $91,000 that we make. The point we actually become millionaires when we have $1 million of equity. And now what is equity? Equity is the difference of how much home you have subtracting the value of the loan that you have on the house. I already went ahead here and did the math for you. So if we were to buy the house for 3.5% down, we would be having $12.6 thousand of equity, which is the down payment we bought the house for. If we go ahead and scroll all the way down, by year 23, we are going to be having $1 million in equity, and this is the moment we become a millionaire. So now the next thing that we need to take into account, how much money are we going to be making on a year by year basis? So if we were to go ahead and add our net cash flow and also the property appreciation, for the first year of us owning the home, we are going to be making around $4,200. But the main entire point of house hacking is to buy a multi-unit property so that we could rent it out and own it for a prolonged period of time. So we've already established just by owning the house for 23 years and renting it out and also living in the house, we are going to go ahead and become a millionaire. Now, what happens after a year and you don't want to live in the house and you rent out the other part of the house? So if we were to go over here and change the rental income of the property, we are going to be making around $5,600 every year. So what we're going to go ahead and do is change negative $15,000 to positive $5,600 every year. So we were to compound that every year, and keep in mind, this is not taking into account the rental income increasing over time. I'm just saying that it's going to be staying the same on a year by year basis. After the first year of owning the home, we would only make $4,200. However, by the second year, once we rent out the home, we are now making $26,000 every year. Now, we were to take a look after the 30th year, we're going to be making around $96,000. And as you can see, the only real difference here is just the rental income of the property, which is an extra amount of money in your pocket. Now, I don't know about you, but having an extra $5,000 of cash in your pocket sounds definitely worth it. But here is where the huge difference is. You know what happens after 30 years? Your mortgage payment disappears. So if we were to go back up to here and change this back to $3,500, and if we were to say we no longer have a mortgage payment, what happens when that goes down to zero? Look how much money we cash flow every year. This is a ridiculous amount. We make $30,000 extra every year just by paying off the loan. Anyways, that is all that I have for today's video. If you can do me a huge favor, like and subscribe. And if you're interested in buying a house, refinancing, or even selling a house, please feel free to reach out to me via phone or email. Other than that, have a great rest of your day.